Hey guys, it's Gladys, and in this video I want to share with you something that I've learned a few years ago and it has changed completely the way I think business. And I remember as a beginner in this whole entrepreneurial journey, myself and Alex, we were struggling a lot, really trying to understand why things weren't working. And this concept just blew our mind, and I think you're going to find it really valuable, especially if you're a beginner, or even if you're more experienced and you've been in the game for a few years but you haven't seen the results that you want to achieve. I think this might start to make sense, and it might be that aha moment that or at least it was for us. So I really do think this is going to be a very valuable video for you, and I'm excited to share what we've learned. And so I just wanted to start by saying that you're not late, regardless of what the people are saying. I know that we are in this trend of people saying this is the best business model, or try this other business model, this is the best one, and everybody comes up with these new claims, but that's just because that's their business. If someone is saying here's the new best business model, simply understand that they're trying to sell you what they have. It doesn't mean that that business model is the only thing that's going to make money. We're going to be making a video about this, but you can really make money in any business model. Look at most guys out there. I'm sure you know Iman Gaji. He's been successful with his own agency, and then he went into courses. And then you have people like Luke Belmar, Jordan Welch, who've been more successful with drop shipping, or Bia Heza. You have people like Daniel Fazio, who's just built a consultancy company around email marketing. I mean, I could go on and on. You know exactly what I mean. There's in any business model, you know that there's someone who's making a lot of money from it. So how is it that they're making money? Even to this day, it's not the business model, and it's definitely not the fact that the business model is saturated. So the whole concept of a saturated business model is actually a myth. Sure, you might have industries and certain business models that are more competitive than others, that's for sure, but you can definitely make money with any business model, and that's exactly what we're gonna show you in this video, is how to make money in a saturated business model. Because let's face it, nowadays every business model is saturated, quote unquote. So what we mean by saturation, the way we see it, is just competition. It doesn't mean that you cannot come in and make money. You certainly can. There are other people doing it. So today we'll show you a concept that's basically going to teach you how you can break the competition. Because, as I said, every market is going to have competition, especially nowadays, because everybody has information with all of these courses. Everybody knows how to do things. You just need to have a better mindset. You got to be doing things better. And I think this framework is going to really allow you to come in any business model and really take over anybody else. So let's start by breaking down the model that I'm going to be talking about. And this is coming from someone who's called Eugene Schwartz. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but if you haven't, look him up. He's known to be sort of the grandfather of copywriting and one of the greatest minds in marketing. And he came up with this concept of 5 stages of market sophistication. And we'll break that down today. So if we had to plot a graph, this is what this will look like. So on one side, you have skepticism. And down here you have effort. And if we had to draw a line and put down 5 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be stage 1, this would be stage 2, this would be stage 3, 4, and 5. And just so that you start to understand the concept, stage number 1 is the easiest, and stage number 5 is the most competitive. And most business models nowadays are probably in stage level 5, but let's break it down from the beginning so you start to understand what all this really means. So let's plot them down one by one. So we have stage number 1, stage number 2, stage number 3, stage number 4, stage number 5. So in stage number 1, you have basically no competition. No competition. So in here, when you have no competition, you can really do whatever you want. So I don't know if you've seen very recently, you have, for example, things like the Vision Pro from Apple. Don't know if you've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it. And this could be considered as a product in a market stage 1. So nobody else is really doing it, or I mean, competitors are going to come in. I'm sure Facebook is going to do their own version and so on, but they've been the first to market, and so there is really no competition. And when you're in this stage, you can say whatever you want. You can really market it however you want. You can be really shit at marketing it, but because there's nobody else and the product is probably in demand, there is a hype for it, it's relatively new, everybody will just buy it. So you can literally do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. This is more like, if you remember Facebook back in the days, if you had an agency back in 2012, 2010, and you were selling Facebook ads services, you would have made a lot of money because nobody knew how to use Facebook ads back in the days, and you could have just come to a business and say, hey, do you want Facebook ads? They would have just been, yeah, I don't know how to do it, so feel free to come on board. Nowadays, everybody knows how to do it, so it's not as simple as that. So we'll have to break down what you have to do in the next few stages to be able to break something that is a bit more competitive. But another example that I want to give you, because another way you can be in stage 1 is if you catch trends. So we've seen these guys called Sintra. I think the website is called trysintra.com. Free promotion for them, I don't care. But these were basically a bunch of guys who hopped on the AI trend. So whenever, I think last year, when ChatGPT was released, these guys knew what they were doing and they just hopped on the trend and they created a Notion template selling prompts to everybody else, saying, hey, here's the prompts. That's it. You can find them on our Notion. They literally, I remember seeing their website to begin with, and it was like the most basic website ever because nobody else was doing it. So they were first to market, and they just needed to say, hey, GPT is new. We have some prompts that would allow you to do so and so on. And yeah, they started making a lot of money. I think we were analyzing the store back in the days last year, and they were making like 250K a month. It's just insane. And then, of course, as months went by, we saw some other competitors coming in the industry, and these guys had to innovate. So now we'll break that down into the next few steps. But one thing that I wanted to mention actually as well is that you need to be careful with trends. So for example, with the likes of Sintra, the Sintra guys, you need to be careful because we very well know nowadays that trends don't last. So unless you just want to come in, make a quick buck like the Sintra guys did, I mean, they innovated, so they're still making money, but just know that now technology and information goes by very quickly with social media and so on. So don't expect to hop on a trend and not see competitors. So be very careful. Don't get complacent. That will be the worst that can happen if you are switched on. Let's say you're so switched on, you hop on a trend and then you just get complacent and the competitors just come through. You just lost so much business and so much money that you could have made. So don't get complacent whenever you spot a trend and you are in a stage 1 market or stage 1 industry. So Just wanted to note that down. And then on stage number 2, this is where, your market becomes a little bit more skeptical. So they've seen your product a little bit. They've seen other people selling something a little bit similar. And, you need to put a little bit more effort. So in stage 2, what you need to do is, in stage 2, you need to introduce benefits. I think you might have heard of this concept. Benefits are just the benefit of your product, so it's not just the feature. So for example, on stage 1, you can just talk about the feature of what your product really is. It can just be as basic. But in stage number 2, you really need to tell people what are the benefits from using your product. And you've seen, if you're using Shopify, for example, that if you're using any of their theme pages, you always have that standard looking page where you have the product image and then you have the title, and then you start doing like a bullet point kind of thing where you introduce all of your benefits. So everybody's doing that, but just so that you know, in stage number 2, you need to tell the market and your clients what are the benefits of your product. And then in stage number 3, the skepticism continues to grow from your clients. They've seen some other products similar to yours saying the same benefits as you. So what do you need to do now? You need to introduce a unique mechanism. And if you don't know what a mechanism is, it simply just means the way your product works. So let's take the example of a skipping rope. So a basic skipping rope would have no sort of special mechanism, but if you go for a weighted skipping rope, then that's your unique mechanism, the fact that the rope is weighted. And just by introducing something that is different from the competition, it just blows them out of the way, because they are talking about their benefits, but you come in the market now and you introduced a unique mechanism. You're telling your buyers, hey, look at my product, is better because it has a different function. It's not like everybody else's product is different, and because it's different, it's got this added benefit. So you're just exaggerating the benefits of your product. However, usually, especially nowadays, whenever if you introduce a unique mechanism, it probably means that unless you had a lot of money to find your own supplier, if you found something on AliExpress or you're doing a service that other people can easily copy, people will copy it. So either people will find the same product that you found it from the same supplier, or they found something similar. People start to catch on if they see that you're making money. So yeah, other people are going to start introducing the same mechanism as you. And so yet again, the people, your buyers, are going to start to be even more skeptical, because now they have a lot more products to choose from that have the same mechanism as yours. So the only thing that you can do in this case, so the next progression will be to exaggerate your mechanism. So at this point, you wouldn't really expect to come up with some crazy product, especially if you've built the business around that product. Let's say the weighting skipping ropes. You can innovate your product if you wanted to, but the easiest thing to do in this case is to try and exaggerate your mechanism. And I mean, the simple way of putting this down is that the way you do this is through copy, through the way you show your product. Maybe you need to showcase it with different marketing angles compared to your competitors. So they might talk about a specific benefit of that mechanism, and you just need to come in with a different angle and a different benefit for that same mechanism. And you just really need to convey to your customers and your clients that your mechanism is better than everybody else's in the market. But same as point 2 and point 3, people are going to catch up, and your competitors are going to do the same thing. So you're still going to be stuck in this case. So you need to go into stage number 5 to be able to beat your competitors. But before we do that, I wanted to also give you some more value by telling you how you can how you can even think about your benefits and your unique mechanisms in a way that you can still beat your competitors, even if they are already talking about their benefits and their mechanisms, because you might find some gaps that your competitors have not thought about, and you can come in that way, even if they already gone through these 3 stages. And the way you want to do that, simply through a feedback loop. So feedback loop. And if you've never heard of feedback loop, it's one of the most important things in business and in life in general, is just getting feedback from the people that you're close to. So in this case, in your business, the feedback should come straight from your customers. So either you do a really good market research. So for example, if you have a physical product, you go and look up for competitors on Amazon, see all the comments that they have down, and check if maybe a lot of people are starting to talk about what that product is missing, and you maybe can come in and add that unique mechanism that the competitors are missing. Or maybe you find that in the comments on YouTube, on Reddit, on Amazon, related to your product or service, people start to talk about how great they feel and why they feel great. And so you can take that and use that as your own angle, as a benefit. And but again, this is simply just to find gaps that your competitors have probably missed. It's probably unlikely, but feedback loop is nonetheless really important. And Hormozi explained this very simply. The best way for you to really get feedback loop is to pull up a G sheet or an Excel, whatever you want, and you have at the top you have all of the people that you're asking feedback to. So that'll be all of your clients, all of your customers, and then down here you drop down all of the things that they talk about. So all of the points that they bring. Maybe they said something good about this, good about that. You start to fill out your questionnaire, and then you want to perhaps identify something that is most common across multiple people that you've asked. And from there you start to ask yourself, is this something that I can do? Is this something that my competitors are not doing? Can I use this as a benefit? Can I introduce maybe a new product or a new mechanism to my product that would solve this issue that people are finding? So feedback loop, super important. And don't underestimate this. I remember seeing an interview of Mr. Beast, and he was talking about, I'm sure you might have heard of this, when he was talking about how at the beginning of his journey he partnered up with 4 other people, 4 other young kids that were obsessed with YouTube, and they were on the same path as him, and they would literally try things out, put down a plan, try things out, and then meet every single day and discuss things. Everybody will bring something that they learned to the table. And this is exactly feedback loop. If he was to do this by himself, this whole analysis of all the thumbnails and all that kind of stuff, he would have been way slower, as opposed to having another 5 people posting every single day and everybody injecting whatever they learned. So in your case, you are learning from your market. So you already have the people that you just need to ask them. So feedback loop is really important. But let's come to the point number 5. And this is probably the most important point, and it's going to make a lot of sense to you. So in stage number 5, the only way you can really compete is through identity and creating a brand. So I'm sure you've heard of this, but brand is probably one of the most important things nowadays, one of the most important puzzles of marketing. You've seen all the people that you know online: Iman Gadzhi, Luke Belmar, Sam Ovens, Ty Lopez, Ryan Serhant, Gary Vee, like Tony Robbins, Daniel Fazio, anybody who's on YouTube is just creating their own brand, and the only reason you know them is because they're building a brand and an identity. If you think of Hamza, for example, he's no different than any other guy who's just on his self-development journey. He was just very good at coming through with his own personality. Like, he was really authentic. I'm pretty sure you've caught up on this trend recently where everybody's trying to be authentic and just showcase who they are, because through identity and through branding, it's something that nobody can compete with, because you are unique. You are the only person that can be that way. So nobody can come in and be exactly like Iman Gadzhi, and if someone tries to, it would just feel off, because that's him, and it's like you cannot replace him. So building your own identity and brand, whether that's you as your personal brand or a product, it's super important. So even when we talk about products, think of Gymshark, the way Ben Francis has gone about it. Ever since back in the days when he first started, he was creating this community of bodybuilders with in a very specific niche. He will go out in these events and really create a bond with them, create a story through his brand. And that's how Gymshark is now one of the biggest brands in the world. And the same with Davey doing the Udi. He has that story. He's got that identity conveyed through the brand. So really, really important. Identity and brand nowadays is the only way to really break through. You can for sure make money if you understand how to do step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, step number 4 really well. But when we talk about long-term big brand or even small brand, is stage number 5. It's essential, and quite frankly, that's what we're doing. So myself and Alex, we've done some money with other things, with paid ads, with organic. We grew so we started with organic social media. We grew that to 800,000 on TikTok and about 80k on IG, and then we did a digital product. We scaled that to 35,000 through paid ads, and now we're building our own community, teaching people how to do all this sort of stuff. So, we realized ourselves that identity and brand is really the only way to be unbeatable in any market. So no matter the business model, if you create a brand around it, nobody can really take you over. You've seen that with Iman Gadzhi, for example, and that's actually another point that I want to make. So within identity and brand, you can either just to finish off this concept that Eugene has taught us. So if you go through the whole 5 stages, the only way for you to then, actually I just realized this should still be red because it's still stage 1. Yeah, that makes more sense. But as I was saying, if you go through all the 5 stages, the only way to then go back to stage 1, it's through a new market, perhaps a new niche maybe, or if you have a completely new product, as we said, Vision Pro, for example. But nowadays it's very, very hard unless you really catch on a trend very quickly, like Sintra did with ChatGPT. You're not really gonna create a new business model. You have some people talking about IPGA, like Sunday Stage. Nothing wrong against that, but they're just like rewording the same business model. They are in a different subsection. I understand that. So they are trying to go into a sub niche. So that's really funny actually. If you go and look at Sun the Stage, one of his videos popped up and he was talking about how he was the first one to come up with this concept. This is really new, and it is new, but it's not necessarily a business model. It's just a sub niche. And then you might have heard other people like Eddie. If you're really into this industry, you've probably already seen these guys. But then, yeah, you've seen Eddie coming through doing the same thing as Sun the Stage, but he calls it something like growth operator. But yeah, these people basically doing SMMA, but they are building a community for influencers. So it's still an agency. That's the business model. But again, I mean, it's very clever. Nothing wrong against them. These guys are really smart. They actually understood how this concept works. They understood that the market was at level 5, and they are still building their own brand and identity. Sun the Stage has a big YouTube channel. The Eddie guy has taken over IG through short form. And yeah, I mean, they are doing all these 5 steps, and definitely the 5th one. But they realized that a way to really break through and have that like skyrocket the business is to try and go back to stage 0 where there is less competition, quote unquote. And so, yeah, they just went into a new niche. You can go into a new market, or you can come up with a new product, which very unlikely unless you have a big budget or you just spot a early trend. But as we said, trends don't last, so never get complacent in here. If anything, whenever you spot something, if you spot a new trend, try to do all of these things at once. Just take over the whole competition. So introduce your benefits, introduce your unique mechanism, exaggerate your unique mechanism straight away, and start to create your branding. And that's how you really take over the industry. That's exactly what Iman Gadzhi has done from the beginning. So yeah, you can see how this guy mastered this whole concept. And another thing I wanted to leave you with is that don't get discouraged. That's the whole concept of this video. You're not late. You're never late. So I want to show you this concept called... This concept is called life cycle. And you may know what this is, you may not know it, but this is something that you might find is sort of like a law in nature. Everything that is born eventually dies. So if I had to plot this in a graph, it would look like something like this. It's like a bell curve where it starts from 0, something is new, comes up, and then it spikes, and then it tails off. So you can break this down into 3 different stages. And on the first stage is, I don't know, you can call it the come up. And then on the middle stage is basically your peak. You can think of this as like the peak of any artist, any athlete, any businessman. So the likes of even like Drake, for example, his peak has been very, very long, probably one of the longest artists to be that relevant. But you always see people coming in, reach their peak, maybe 1 year is their best year, and then they start to tail off. So for Iman Gadzhi, for example, this last 2-3 years have been his peak. And you've actually heard him say, I don't know if you've heard him say, but he's already mentioned that he knows he's going to quit YouTube in a couple of years. So he understands this concept really well. So he's taking advantage of his peak right now. He's doing all of these events to try and, inject as much money in his business. And now he's venturing off in like long-term businesses, like his big day energy drink. So really smart guy. All these people, I'm telling you, they understand this concept. He knows he's at his peak right now, and he knows he's definitely gonna tail off in the next few years. And I wanted to show you this because what this means is, like anybody else you've seen, for example, Ty Lopez and Sam Ovens back in the days, they created this whole consultancy course industry, and even them, they tailed off. Either they get bored, they get burnt out, or they're okay with money. So eventually they're just gonna exit what they're doing, and somebody else comes along. So Imangaji takes over them, for example, and then you see that Imangaji starts to tail off, and then Charlie Morgan comes in. So don't compare your stage 1 to somebody else's stage 10. Do your thing. Just know that you are at right now, if you are not really making any money or if you're struggling, just know that you're at this stage. So do not compare with somebody at its peak. Makes no sense. And most definitely, do not keep changing business model. That's just like the shiny object syndrome. It's probably the thing that kills most entrepreneurs, because especially nowadays we have no patience, and you start building your business model thinking you're going to get rich in 1, 2, 3 months. It doesn't happen. And then you hear somebody on YouTube saying, oh, here's the business model and why yours is not working. And then you just go on to the next business model, and then the cycle repeats, because you need momentum in your business, and momentum is only created through consistency. So I really want to ingrain this in your head. Consistency is going to beat anything else, but make sure you adapt all of these strategies. Make sure you introduce the benefits. Make sure you have unique mechanisms in your business. Make sure you ask feedback to your market so you can be different from everybody else. Don't just copy what someone is doing, because that's how you are basically saturated. What saturated means is just copying somebody else. It's not that the business model is saturated. It's the way that you go about it that is saturated. You can't expect to send the exact same email script to 1,000 people that have already been reached out with the same message. It just doesn't work. So that works with anything else. Don't just copy people. Try to model from them for sure, but be unique to yourself. And you can only do that by asking feedback. That's where you get better. And just understand that it's all a time game. This works. This is a law in nature. And just know that you're here, you're down here, and maybe you're up here. And if you're up here and you've been doing this thing you've stuck to your business model for a few months, and then you quit, just know that maybe next month would have been the month of like your breakthrough month, where you start to really grow up. It just really takes a few weeks or a few months to really take over. You've seen Charlie Morgan with his paid ads. You've seen Eddie with his social media stuff. So keep doing what you're doing. Try to always improve. And don't have this FOMO. That's just what other people try to sell you. Oh, not sell you. That's what people use as a technique to sell you onto whatever they're selling. So yeah, I went on a rant right there, but I think this concept is super, super valuable. Eugene Schwartz, again, make sure you check him out. He's got a book called Breakthrough Advertising. We'll probably make a video on that because he's got some other really interesting concepts. But yeah, this guy revolutionized the whole marketing industry. So, and what he said back then, it's probably even more important nowadays, because as I said, everybody's doing the same things, and we have no patience nowadays. So yeah, I just wanted to share with you some of these thoughts. I wanted to share with you what I've learned. I hope you found this valuable, and if you took something away from this, is to keep going. You're not late on what you're doing. Just put your head down, keep doing your own thing, and then you're gonna see success. The only way you're not gonna see success is by keep jumping onto different things, I guarantee you. And with that said, I hope you found this video valuable. We're gonna make sure to post a lot more stuff like this, and I'll see you in the next video.